Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I'm the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. I'd like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. Today's webinar is on the chapter web pages, basically for anybody that's going to be wanting to add or edit content on any of the chapter websites, or people that might be referred to as the webmasters for the chapter. By default, the leadership team usually has access to make these changes, but if somebody else does want to make these changes, all you have to do is contact your regional office and they can assign you as a chapter webmaster. So in today's session, we're going to go over some of the basics. I'm going to show you what the websites are all about, what they look like, how they're accessed, how they're changed, and some of the basic changes that you're going to be able to make to them. A couple of housekeeping things before we get started. First of all, this is a live webinar, so if you have any questions as we're going through the material today, please do feel free to ask those questions. The best way to do that is by typing the question in to the questions panel in the GoToWebinar software. I'll see that question pop up on my screen and I can answer it as we're going through the material today. Of course, I will be happy to answer any additional questions at the end. Now, we're scheduled for about a half hour or so. I try to keep these short and sweet so that you guys can get back to your busy lives and work schedules. That being said, this is what I do all day, every day. I talk about BNI Connect and I answer people's questions about BNI Connect. So I'm always happy to stay on these calls until every single question has been answered. We're also going to be recording this webinar, so if there's somebody else that you need to share this with, or if you'd like to go back and review it at a later time, or if you had to duck out and you'd like to go back and catch the end of it, you'll be able to find those on the support site. You can always get to the support site by clicking on the question mark up here in the upper right-hand corner of BNI Connect. There you'll find all of the recorded material as well as the schedule of upcoming webinars. So let's go ahead and get started with today's topic. And again, this is the chapter web pages in BNI Connect. Now, BNI Connect is a huge system, so it comprises not only all of the chapter and the region and the country data for 195,000 BNI members around the world, which is kind of like our QuickBooks. It also has kind of a social media aspect to it, which is, the connections and the testimonials and the discussion groups. But really, BNI Connect is also a CMS. It's really a kind of a WordPress, if you will, in that it also produces all of the web pages for each of the countries. So there's a BNI America website. Each of the region has their own website. So I happen to be a member here in Rhode Island. So we have a website, bniri.com. Depending on where you're a member, you have a regional website as well. Now, if you don't know what that regional website is, here in BNI Connect, just click on the button in the upper right-hand corner where it says Regional Website, and that will take you to your regional website. And again, the great thing about these websites is that they are pushed out by BNI Connect. So there's a lot of data that gets automatically updated and pulled from the inside, from the database portion of BNI Connect. For example, all of the chapter listings. So if I go to find a chapter, anytime a new chapter is created or a chapter closes, they are all going to be listed here. If I click on any of the chapters, this will list all the members. And if I click on any of the members, this will show their profiles. So these are all of the things on the regional pages. Now, within the regional pages, if I go back to find a chapter here and I'm just going to choose my chapter, which is the BNI Wakefield chapter. Again, this will list all of the chapter members, but I can also click on Visit the Chapter website, and every chapter has their own website that they can customize. Now, our chapter, we've left it pretty much as the basic out-of-the-box website. It just has a little graphic on it. It has our members listed on there, so if I go to Meet Our Members, it'll have all the member profiles. For example, it has my profile on here that we can go through and look at. I can also go back, and we did add a Facebook page link to our chapter Facebook page. All of the contact details for the leadership team are automatically updated every term. And it also lists all of the upcoming chapter speakers, and that's all done automatically from information in BNI Connect. Now, you don't necessarily have to leave it as this default. There are a ton of things that you can do with these chapter websites and still remain within the parameters of the CMS portion of it. let me give you a couple of quick examples. Let's say that I go to B&I Rugby. That's one of the chapters out there. B&I Rugby. Just doing a Google search for them, and they're in Warwickshire in the UK. Yes, B&I is all around the world. And here's what they've done with their chapter website. So you can see they added all these social media foldouts over here. And if we go down, we scroll down, you can see that they've made quite a long page. It has some nice graphics and some kind of infographics in there. It's got embedded videos right here. It's got a link to click here to register to visit their chapter. It's got some testimonials on here. It's got another video from Dr. Meisner and their thank you for closed business. Got a funny B&I song. I mean, just a ton of information and then a map of where they're located. All of this can be done fairly easily through the CMS editor here in B&I Connect. They also have their chapter members page, which they've kept fairly consistent with the header at the top. They have a chapter gallery, which they're using as a way to share photographs and other things from their chapter. So this is kind of a photo gallery here. We can click on any of these and go through a slideshow if we'd like to. And finally, they have a chapter news feed as well. So these are some things that you can do with your chapter website. Let me just show you just one more thing. We have the Golden Ideas chapter in San Francisco. And when I go to the Golden Ideas chapter, you can see they took a somewhat different approach. They made this a 2-column website, but most of the main concepts of the website stay intact. So again, all the leadership team is over on the left with their meeting location and things like that. They decided to put some graphics in here. They're saying they're looking for the following profession, so they're kind of advertising that on their site. They have a link to visit the chapter. If we go to the chapter members page, this is where they've done something really, really interesting. And they have their traditional list of members, but then they also have a button here that says View Power Teams. And in the header, they created a script that allows them to break their chapter membership into the various contact spheres. And when you click on any of them, you'll see the people that are associated with that particular contact sphere. And again, this is some custom programming that they've done themselves within the website. So let's take a look. How do we go in and make these kinds of changes? How do we go in and edit the chapter websites? Now, before you do anything, you do have to be put into the system as either somebody that's on the leadership team, namely the president, the vice president, or the secretary treasurer. You have to have some type of a regional role. So if you are a director, consultant, or ambassador, or things like that, generally you're going to have permission to do this. Or if in neither of those cases, you do need to be assigned as the chapter webmaster. You can always check to see if these assignments have been made either by going to your chapter roster report, or if you scroll down to the bottom and click here on the profile page. This is just a shortcut to your own personal profile, kind of as other people see it. And on the very first page of your profile, you will see all of your roles that you have assigned to you. Now I have quite a few here because I'm a system administrator and a director consultant. I have some test roles around the world as well, but you need to see either, again, chapter webmaster or president or something like that. Once you have one of those assignments, you should be able to get into the menu items where the CMS is located. And up here along the top, we have our menu items: network operations, reports, tools, and admin. Now the CMS functionality is going to be located under the Tools menu. So if you click on Tools and then go to CMS and then go to Chapter Websites. So go to Tools, CMS, Chapter Websites. That is going to take us into the first level of the CMS editor. Now the first page you're going to see is the list of all of the chapter websites that you have access to. If you happen to be a regional director or a regional webmaster, you'll see all of them. If you happen to be the webmaster of just one chapter, then you're only going to see one thing listed here. For example, if I just filter this down to the Burr chapter, this is my test region, by the way. This is Antarctica, where we have a whole bunch of test members. We have a Shiver region, and I'm going to be working with the Burr chapter today. And if I click on the link here, that will take me to the BNI Burr chapter website. And you can see this is a 100% completely out of the box, never been touched chapter website. And again, it just has the default text. It has the same graphic and the information on the left. It has the upcoming chapter speakers for the next month. It still has all the chapter web pages. The chapter members and their member profile pages. And finally, a news feed that we're not doing too much with right now. If I want to go in and edit this site, what I want to do is click on, under the Options button, Edit. And here we have our various layouts and things that we can do with the site. So you'll notice that it's broken into a couple of different pages here. We have the Pages tab, which has our site layout. So it has our home page, our chapter members page. This little greater than symbol means that it's a sub page or a subsection of the page. So we have the member details, chapter details, and send message sub pages. We have a gallery page, and we have a news page. And again, if I go back to the chapter website here, you'll see we have our home page, right? So that was our home page. We have our chapter members page, which is our chapter members page. If we go and click on one of the people here, we have our member details page, which is this here. This is our member details subpage. We have our chapter details subpage, which is accessed if somebody clicks on the chapter details link. And we have our send message subpage. So if I go back one page, I don't have send message enabled on this one, but for example, if we click send message here, this would be the example of a send message subpage. The gallery page, and you'll notice that there is no gallery page up here, and that's because by default the gallery page is hidden. So we can show that if we'd like to. So again, I can show that if I would like to show it. I'm going to leave it hidden for the moment. And then we have our chapter news page. Now the news page is a special page. It is accessed within the other part of the system in the operations menu, but we have some of the same options where we can choose to show it or hide it or directly edit the content. Now we have some other pages along the top here before I go into some of these other details. The library page is where if you want to get any types of graphics or links to documents or anything, if you want to basically host anything on the website, you first have to upload it onto the BNI Connect servers. Especially this is mostly going to affect pictures and graphics. So in order to display graphics on the website, we first need to get it into BNI Connect off of your computer and into BNI Connect. And the way we do that is through the library. And you see we have three different types of objects: images, documents, and Flash. So images, JPEGs, and PNG files, for example. So if I click on Upload, this will allow me to browse my computer by clicking this little magnifying glass here. And I can go find any graphics that I want to upload up to the server. So let's say I want this visitor icon, and I want this, let's say this mentoring icon and online training. You can choose up to 3 files at a time and upload those all at once. And now I have some images in my library, and I can repeat that process. You can put as many files as you want up there. You are limited to 5 megabytes per individual image. So 5 megabytes per individual image, but you can have an unlimited number of images in your library. We have the documents section where you can upload, PDF files or Word documents, things like that if you need to reference files on your site. And there is Flash. Nobody really uses Flash much nowadays, but the opportunity is there to do so. All right, now those will be available. So the last tab here is the Site Information tab. Now there's not a whole lot on this page to do much with. You can put, for example, an analytics code down here. If you have an account with, let's say, Google Analytics, you could go ahead and utilize that to track visitors to your site. The only other thing you really want to look at on this page is what's called the chapter folder name. Now, what you'll notice is we have our website here, and the URL for the website's kind of ugly. It's really, really long. And that's because it's an auto-generated site based on a template. So when we first create all the sites, we have to auto-generate all of these chapter pages. So what they do is they give it the name of the region. So the Shiver region is where we happen to be. So it made Shiver-region, and then the name of the chapter, BNI Burr. Now, it puts in things like spaces, dashes for where spaces would be, because spaces would be illegal characters in a web name. So if we wanted to tell somebody where to go to hit this website, we'd have to tell them, oh yeah, you know what, just go to Antarctic Referrals /Shiver-region-BNI--- That's kind of a mouthful. So what we can do is we can rename this part of the domain so that it's a little bit more user-friendly by changing the chapter folder name here. You do have to make sure that it's not being used somewhere else in the region. So that's the only limitation there, but other than that, I can just call this the BNI Burr chapter. So this way, I could tell people just go to antarcticreferrals.com/Burr, and that's with 3 R's, by the way. Once I click Update, you'll see that my name up here changed. Now, one thing I do need to do is click the Publish button in order for those changes to take effect. Here's the thing about working in this CMS editor, and that is when you're working on your chapter website, when you're making changes, you're uploading pictures, you're redesigning the website, whatever it is that you're doing, you're actually working on a copy of the website. So you're not working on the live website, the thing that everybody else out there in the world is seeing. What that means is that you can work on it, you can take a break, you can come back later, you can save it. You don't have to let the rest of the world see it until you're ready to do so. So when you're working on it, you're actually working on a copy of the website, this preview URL right here. So if you want to see what you're working on, you can always come here and click that link. Now the live site is going to be at this link, the live URL. To take what you've been working on and overwrite the live site, you're going to go to Publish. And it's just going to go by really, really quickly, but it takes that site and it overwrites the live site with the preview site, and now everything will match. And also now, when I go to antarcticreferrals.com/Burr, I am now at the new location of the website. All right, now that we've done that, let's take a look at a couple of these other things here. So we have a couple of options on each of these. We have edit name, edit meta tags, and edit content. Now, you can change the name of any of these pages, which effectively, what you're doing is changing these tab names up here, the home, chapter members, and news. So if, for example, you don't want this to be called the home page, you want this to be, about our chapter, you can make that page be about our chapter instead. So when I click Submit, if I go to the preview site, you can see this now says about our chapter instead of home. Now meta tags are a funny thing. Meta tags are really to help out with your chapter's SEO for the page, or the search engine optimization. Now I do not proclaim to be an SEO expert. I don't even proclaim to be an SEO novice. Talk to the SEO person in your chapter. They'll give you some good tips and some tricks. If you don't have an SEO person in your chapter, invite one to the next meeting. But they can give you some really good advice on what to put in here that will really help with some of the search engine results. Now, before we get to edit content, which is really the meat and potatoes of what you're going to be doing with the website, there is one other option available on 2 of the pages, the gallery and the news. And again, if we go out to the website here, you'll notice that we have the news page, but we don't have a gallery page. So that's because right now, the news page is currently showing. and we have the option to hide it. And the gallery page is currently hidden because we have the option to show it. If I want to show this page, for example, the gallery page, click Show. Are you sure you wish to show this page? Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and show that. And what you'll also notice is now that I've shown the gallery, there's a new tab up here at the top. Now that new tab's there because really the gallery page, it's a very special page. It basically allows you to create that photo album that I showed you on one of the other sites. So it doesn't really make any sense to have that page up there until you've gone ahead and started uploading photographs into the gallery. Or some people have used this for other means, like a blog, for example. I could create a chapter blog this way. With that gallery tab, again, you'll have this new tab so you can start creating a chapter gallery up there. So you can start a new album, our chapter, description, the wonderful Burr chapter. Okay, and I can click submit. Now I have an album here, and now I can start editing that album and putting some photos into it. Now these particular photos do have to be entered one at a time. Because they all need a title to them. But once we have them up there, let's go back. I'm going to publish this again so that you can see now that we have a chapter gallery and we've started some photo albums up here, and we can start putting in photos. All right, but let's go in and start editing content. That's really, again, the bulk of what you're going to be doing with these pages. So if I want to start changing my home page and really editing this main page of what people are seeing, I'm going to go in and click the Edit Content button for that page. All right, now that we get there, you'll notice a couple of things. The main place that we're going to be working is the body of that particular page. You'll notice that the left-hand side, that left-hand column, as well as the chapter speakers at the bottom, we can't really do anything to edit those areas of the system. And the same thing with the header up here at the top. All of that information it's brought from BNI Connect. So all of the leadership team and the contact information and all of that, that is taken directly from BNI Connect, so we can't edit or format any of that data. The chapter speakers at the bottom, that is also brought directly from BNI Connect if your Secretary-Treasurer is entering the speaker rotation into BNI Connect. So both of those they're dynamic content that we can't change. What we can change is the stuff that's in the area that has the editing box. Now, most of this is really the same as editing a Word document. For the most part, if you can edit a Word document, you can do most of the basic changes on a chapter website and make a really interesting website. Really just comes down to creativity at that point. However, for those of you that are on the line with us today that are web designers, you'll be happy to know that you do have access to the source code here. So if you'd like to program directly in HTML, you can go ahead and work directly in HTML. I would say you can use external editors and then copy and paste the HTML code in there, but be careful with that. Not all HTML editors are created the same, and there have been web pages that have been broken in the past because of that. So do be very, very careful with that. You will also need to know about the source code if you want to do something like embed a video on your website, which I can show you how to do afterwards, or to put a tool like a Facebook link or something into your chapter site. This is also a great way to back up your site if you want to go and copy this information. All you need to do is copy it, paste it into WordPad, and then just go ahead and save that file somewhere on your system, call it default website. And if you ever need to roll back your changes, you can roll them back that way pretty easily by just copy and pasting that text of the source code. All right, the rest of this, again, as I said, it's really just word editing here. So if, let's say, I want to make this bold and italic, I can do, strike through or underlining. change the color of things and change the size of things. Let's say I want this to be a 22-point font and I want it to be in orange text and I want this to be, green highlighted. You can do all sorts of things that way. Some things that aren't quite as obvious as just editing Word documents is you can put hyperlinks. If we look in this box right here, this is kind of some special functions. So hyperlinks is when you want, obviously, this to go to another website. So let's say that I have something here. I want anytime somebody clicks on BNI to go to the BNI corporate head site. So I'm going to click on the link here and make this www.bni.com. And that way, if somebody clicks it, it will go there. You can also, for example, make sure that it opens up in the same window or if it opens up in a pop-up window, things like that. And now you'll see that it's underlined and highlighted in light blue, designating it as a link. Other things that you may want to do when it comes to the website is you're obviously going to want to put those pictures that you brought up into your library in there. So really just pick a place to put them, and you want to click this Images tab. Now here, obviously, if it's an image hosted on another server, you can just pop the URL in there. Otherwise, we're going to click Browse Server. And this is going to bring us to our library. Now, you notice there's a bunch of images in here already. These are some default graphics that are just up in the default library. But we have some other stuff. Here's the things that I uploaded. For example, that the BNI Visitor Badge and the BNI Connect Online Training and that mentoring thing. So let's say I want this visitor icon in here, and actually this is looking really, really big, so let me shrink this down a little bit, about half size, and it'll keep the dimensions for me as long as I have that lock button on. And there we go. Now I have a visitor graphic in there, and maybe I want to say, visit our chapter. Now if I want it so that when they click on this and when they click the picture, it goes and it visits our chapter, I could always make a link out of this and then put in a link to, for example, we have the link to the chapter webpage that they can register on. If we'd like to, we could put that link in there. But the picture links and text links essentially work the same way. There's some other advanced tools in here, such as the buttons and form building and things like that, but those will take a little bit more advanced knowledge in HTML programming. You do also need to make sure that you have a place to store any information that you are collecting. When you are all set, you can go ahead and save the site, which will bring you to a preview page. If you want to go back, you can edit it some more. Otherwise, just go ahead and close that. And now I should be able to go and see our gorgeous new site. And none of my changes were there. Well, that's because I haven't published the site. Remember, when you're working on it, you're working on a preview copy. So if I click the preview page, this has all my lovely changes. But the live site, what everybody else in the world is seeing, is just this here. If I want to now overwrite this, what I need to do is publish the site. And now we will see our live and glorious changes. All right, we are at the bottom of the hour, so what I'd like to do is to open this up for any questions. Does anybody at all have any questions about the chapter websites or the functionality or really anything about BNI Connect? I'd be happy to answer those questions now. For those of you that do have to leave right away at the bottom of the hour, just thank you guys so much for spending some time with me today and learning more about BNI Connect and the chapter websites. I know you're going to do a wonderful job in promoting your chapter. All right, we have one question from Jim. Can you add pages to the website? Jim, unfortunately for the chapter websites, we are limited to just the pages that we have here. So unfortunately, you can't add any pages. That being said, you can repurpose some of the pages a little bit if you need to. So for example, the gallery, I know a lot of people have turned that into more of a blog, so to speak, for the being able to add information there. There's also that news page that you can use for that as well. Let's see, Lisa says, can anyone as a member create photos for the gallery? So, I mean, you can edit them and create them offline, so they could make them on their own computer, but what they would have to do is to send them to the webmaster in order to upload them to the chapter website. So not anybody can upload things to the library. You have to do that as the chapter webmaster, but they can create them and send them over. Does that answer your question, Lisa? So there is a special function, by the way, that this news tab, just so you guys know, the news tab, so let me go over to the news here. This news tab is actually a way that the chapter can interact with the web page as well. They don't have access to the CMS editor. So what they did was in the system, they created what's called the chapter news. And if I go to operations, so if I go to the chapter operations, which should open up any second now, you'll see that the bottom function under operations, again, operations chapter, we have manage news. And if I click on manage news, without getting into the full CMS editor, this allows other people to actually edit that one page of the website. So there can be a little bit more collaboration with, again, just this news tab. So if I go ahead and I'm just going to change this. Here is where somebody could link to pictures but not upload pictures into the library. But again, I'm going to make some changes here. Give this a different color. And I'm going to go ahead and save and publish this. And if I refresh this page here, it has my changes. So this is really a way for a chapter to be more participatory in it without necessarily having full access to all of the CMS functions. If for some reason you don't have access to, or you don't have this manage news function, not every region has that enabled for their members. So just talk to your executive director if that's something that you'd like to look into a little bit more deeply. So does that answer your question, Lisa? Does that help? Awesome. Any other questions? All right, so Megan asked, why would we use this instead of our own chapter sites? That's an excellent question. I would say definitely talk to your executive director about that. There are a lot of regions. We are trying to push more and more people towards the BNI Connect sites. Now, one of the really the biggest reason for that is that a lot of chapters out there, they start out and they're all gung-ho about having a chapter website. Usually it's a new web designer that's come into the group and they want to prove what they can do, which is awesome. It's great that they can build up some credibility that way. However, they usually do it for free and it ends up going out of date really fast because it's really hard to chase members for information. I mean, I know we've had this tried in our chapter. I've been a member for 14 years and our chapter tried to do this a couple of times. And I mean, within months, the site was woefully out of date. It was, it had members on it that had left the chapter and new members that had joined that hadn't been put up on the chapter yet. And the web designer got busy and never got around to it. And it just never gets updated. At the very least, even the most default of websites will have an updated roster and an updated contact information for the chapter and an updated speaker rotation. So that means that you can really concentrate on being creative with the content that's in it rather than having to constantly chase down, really just keeping track of the membership of the chapter more than anything. So, Megan, does that help? And if you have your own URL. So if you have your own URL, what I would say is you can create a pointer record for that. And let's say that, I owned www.bniburchapter.com. I could redirect that so that it goes to this URL, the antarcticreferrals.com/Burr. And that way you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get your own, vanity custom domain name, as well as having the automated updated properties of the chapter site. So excellent question. Does that help, Megan? Awesome. Thank you. All right, do we have any other questions at all? No, all right. Well, if we don't have any additional questions, just so you know, this is being recorded. You can find it on the chapter website, on the support site. You go to the support site by clicking on this question mark here from any page in BNI Connect. Just click on the help button. That will take you to the support site. First thing you'll see is all the upcoming webinars. So this is actually our second to last webinar of the month. We have one more webinar on the online renewals, and then we start the whole series all over again for May. A good referral from me is to please recommend these webinars. If you think you have a new member in your chapter, if you have somebody that's never been on BNI Connect and needs some more information about any of the functions, we go through the entire BNI Connect system for members as well as for leadership teams. So we start out with completing your profile and then tracking referrals and then connecting with other members and member tools and reports and inviting visitors. So please, if you could, a good referral for me is to recommend and share those webinars. All right, on that note, I'm going to say thank you guys so very much, and I hope you have an absolutely wonderful rest of the week. Happy connecting.